The most extreme projections may be 5 feet just in 50 years. So by 2100, if we take no intervention, the peninsula could be inundated.
I am worried about the greater Charleston area, and what a pity it would be because this is such a great city.
All across the world, there are many cities that may be underwater by 2050 or 2080, and one of those cities is Charleston, South Carolina. Now, they're constantly battling rising sea levels, and they're trying to preserve their history and the city itself.
Early on, people tended to settle along the coast and along waterways, so that is where you tend to see our most historic buildings.
The first 20 years we lived here, there was no issue about flooding. Then in the last 5 years or so, we have flooded our crawl space below the house. It has flooded 4 times.
Look around Charleston, South Carolina, and you won't be able to ignore the fact that this city is old, filled with buildings full of history, and continuously under construction.
Often these buildings were built without regard for our modern day challenges in terms of climate change. We are quickly having to deal with how to adapt to these increasingly changing conditions with water.
There are many cities across the country just like Charleston, battling rising sea levels. And of course, the hurricanes that flood areas and destroy buildings, making them unlivable.
I would say for the most part, especially people who live downtown, are very aware and understand the effect of the ice caps and how the water flows and the rising tides, that we're in trouble. We are in trouble.
NASA studies show by 2050, sea level along U.S. coastlines could rise as much as 12 inches above today's waterline. They project 10 to 14 inches on average for the East Coast, 14 to 18 inches for the Gulf Coast, and 4 to 8 inches for the West Coast.
The most extreme projections may be 5 feet just in 50 years. So by 2100, if we take no intervention, the peninsula could be inundated.
As for the U.S., there are 15 cities that scientists say could be underwater by 2050 due to climate change, which is why these cities are starting to take action.
I will say that Charleston is on the forefront of pioneering adaptations for historic properties, and we are leading the way. And other communities are looking to us on how to deal with rising waters. My name is Erin Minigan. I'm the Director of Preservation and Planning for the Preservation Society of Charleston.
Here at the Preservation Society of Charleston, their #1 issue is executing plans to save historic buildings from flooding.
Because the best thing for the buildings are their continued use, and we were at a point where people were not able to live in them. So that was when we started the effort to create a policy for elevating historic buildings.
One tactic they've implemented that other cities are applying is lifting historic buildings to prevent flood damage. Charleston was the first to implement this.
We raised 6 feet, and we were about 2.5 feet to begin with, so we're about 8.5 feet.
And residents have even done this to their own homes.
Okay, so you can see how high we are. All this is new ductwork because everything was destroyed. Hi, I'm Lee Kaplan. I've lived in Charleston about 25 years, and this house was built in 1860. We really couldn't deal with the flooding anymore. We watched the water come up within 3 inches of coming inside the house. We couldn't go anywhere in the fall because we were afraid we would be away and our house would flood. One of our cars was completely flooded and totaled. We did not want to leave Charleston. We didn't want to move off the peninsula. And so our only option really was to raise the house.
While raising buildings in cities to combat flooding and climate change is a step in the right direction, it's just one step to an overarching solution.
We don't have time. So we're really concerned. And we've become a little bit complacent because we're up high now. And I don't worry about it. But I am worried about the greater Charleston area. And what a pity it would be because this is such a great city.
The city is building a higher sidewalk wall for the rising sea level and is currently developing plans to divert ocean water.
They've had extensive research done with the Dutch and with other countries in terms of what are they going to do, because this is really an issue.
The city has committed funds to a comprehensive city water plan. So this is going to study water issues from all angles, such as tidal flooding, sea level rise, and even groundwater intrusion, to understand where are the problem areas.
It's a race against time, and people in Charleston hope they can preserve their historic city. In Charleston, South Carolina, I'm Thomas Hoppe.
More to come on the race. Stick with us.